In today's video, I'm going to show you exactly how to create this stunning villa using Autodesk Revit. Now, if you're thinking, why Autodesk? Well, I saw this video a couple weeks ago and I was inspired. I really loved how they've designed around the landscape and how they utilize the secluded space to make the perfect home. So I started thinking, if I could do the same, no limitations, no restrictions, what would it be and how would I do it? I started sketching an idea up and it was a secluded private villa, cut into the side of a mountain, completely consumed and immersed by nature. Obviously overlooking the beautiful water and the islands in front of me. Today's video is sponsored by Autodesk because I wanted to partner with a company that is changing how the world is designed and made. Autodesk's technology spans architecture, engineering, construction, product design, manufacturing, media, and even entertainment. They empower innovators like myself to solve challenges regardless of how big or small. With Autodesk, you have a wide variety of software choices, all of which are there to design and make a better world for all of us. That's why today I'm using Autodesk Revit to create the best possible villa. Now, let's turn around to this screen and get started with today's tutorial. First of all, let's start with the elephant in the room. How am I using Revit on a Mac? Well, I simply downloaded Parallels and installed Revit. Windows 11 came straight away with Parallels and it was a very simple and easy download process. For this video specifically, I'm going to focus on the architectural design and the design process of how this vision could actually become a 3D reality. Autodesk has been a global leader in 3D design for so long, and all of our engineers and consultants are always using Revit. So for me personally, it's more so about understanding Revit, understanding how my consultants and engineers work to be able to better myself as an architect. So that's why this challenge today exists and is so critical. We're going to start today's video by going into new Revit file and we're going to select a metric architectural template. For me, it's metric because I'm in Australia. For you, it can be imperial. It's completely up to you guys. Next, we're simply going to dive in and press OK. Find ourselves immersed in the Revit environment. And the first thing I'm going to do is jump across to one of my elevations to adjust my story settings as quickly and as easily as I can. For this design, we're going to use level 1 as our ground floor plan. So what I'm going to do is double click on level 1 and type in ground floor. Press enter and then go OK to rename all corresponding. I'm going to go ahead and change level 2 to roof and press OK once again. Next, I'm going to highlight my ground floor level, press Command or Control C, press the V button, and I'm going to drop that down 1.8 meters, pressing OK. This for me, level 3, is going to be our pool. Now you can see we're already starting to formulate that idea that we've already created and showcased. The best thing about this is I actually have no idea what that picture looks like that I showed you at the start of this video. We're both going to find out together throughout this video. Now that I've created my pool, I can see it's still black and doesn't show up here on my left-hand browser panel. So I'm going to come up top, hit view, go to view plans, tap floor plan, and introduce pool into our plans. And there we go, we can see pool has dropped in on the left-hand side. It's also automatically created a tab up the top. What I'm gonna do is go back to my ground floor plan and work my way from the top down. So let's start by going up the top to our architectural tab where we're gonna find all of our elements. We're gonna jump into wall first of all, and we're gonna select the type of wall structure we wanna use. Because we're cutting this into the ground, it's most likely going to be a 300mm concrete wall or something quite substantial. Let's start anywhere in this project, click once and we'll see our dimensions appear. I really miss this feature and it's something that I truly love about Revit, so we can just go ahead and type in 9 meters, press enter, go up by holding shift, type in 4 meters and finish off our box. So now we have this one box that I'd like actually to be 4 meters internally and 9 meters internally both ways. So by simply clicking on either of these external walls, I can get these dimensions and quickly and rapidly adjust, which makes life so simple. Now I want another one of these blocks across on the right hand side. I want to split this design into 2 pods. So let's go ahead and highlight those 4 walls, Control Command C, Control Command V, and let's shift that across so we keep 3 meters in between. By simply clicking and dragging without actually doing any mathematics, I don't know what that dimension is. But by coming up to the top here to our move tool, I can select one of the corners, come to another corner, and miraculously I've actually managed to get it at 3 meters perfect. So we can leave that right there where it is and move on to the next part of our design. If we come back up to architecture up the top, hit our stairs, we can start designing a beautiful staircase that leads us into this design. So let's simply draw 3 steps, leave a gap, and then draw the remainder of our risers. The stairs are automatically generated based on your story levels, so you don't have to worry about how many steps or anything that needs to happen. Now that staircase has been created, all we have to do is come up top, hit the finish edit button mode, and our staircase is automatically generated. I don't really want the handrails, so I'm going to select both of them and press delete. I'm now going to select our stairs and move them. I want the third step to align with the edge of our concrete. And at the same time, I want it to be that full length. So because we've already finished editing that, let's double click it, select one of the stairs and simply drag it out till it snaps to the edge. We want to do the same with the bottom stairs, so we create a beautiful set of 3-meter wide stairs. Press that OK button, zoom out a little bit. If you're enjoying this video so far, make sure you check out the first link in the description box for a free 30-day trial of Autodesk Revit. If you're loving the tutorial, you're going to be able to spend some more time on this exact design and slowly progress your skills in Revit. And now let's check out what we've done in 3D already. If we come up to the top, you're going to see our default 3D view. And holding shift with our scroll wheel, we can scroll around to see what we've created. Revit by default will show you this black and white line feature. If you come down to the bottom, you're gonna see the visual styles. If we click on that and just go constant colors for simplicity, we're gonna see something come to life. Now this appears like a timber staircase to me, so I'm gonna select that staircase and change the actual type. So let's say I want a precast staircase. Click it once, it will automatically change it for me. What we can infer from this 3D model so far is the simple fact these walls are way too low. So let's hold the control button, select all of our walls, and then jump across to our properties menu on the top left-hand side, change our top constraint from unconnected all the way up to our roof. So we press once, press escape, and automatically our walls shift to the top of our roof structure. If we decided to go into our elevations, change the height of this roof, it will automatically change all those walls with it, which is amazing. So let's undo that and keep working on our ground floor plan. Now for me, I'm thinking the entry into these two pods, this is gonna be my living and this is gonna be my sleeping quarters, is gonna have to be through this section here. So let's double click on our stairs once again. Let's activate this landing and increase the size ever so slightly. Personally, I want it to be as large as I can make it. So let's say 2.5 meters, pushing our stairs all the way back. The next challenge that we're going to face is the simple fact this staircase is not aligned with the bottom level of our floor. So let's jump into our east elevation. Let's highlight all of these walls and double tap HH to automatically and rapidly hide those walls. All I have to do now is select my staircase and offset the base by -521. And now we can see that the base of our landing is perfectly level with our ground floor. Coming down to the bottom to these cool little sunglass looking icon, hit that, reset temporary hide, and everything will come back to life. Now let's jump back to our ground floor plan and start modeling the rest of this building. If we come into architecture and we go to our floor structure, what we want to do is actually create a couple stepping stones into the water. So for me personally, I'm seeing this swimming pool wrap around out the front and create something stunning. So that's going to be the end of our staircase. I'm going to make it at least 1 meter deep and I'm going to move that to the edge. Now, if I press OK, come back into 3D, you'll see that we've created our first landing, again, not offset correctly. So let's again, -521, offset that landing and it's beautifully presented. Jumping back into our ground floor plan, let's copy and paste this 1 or 2 more times just so we can get something special happening. Now that we've copied 2 more stairs, let's select our level landing, double click it to reactivate, and now let's make it significantly bigger so we can actually create a beautiful landing. Let's select one of these sides and double click so we can adjust this to 6 meters. Then we want to select the opposite side so we can adjust the depth. Let's make that 1500, just enough for a seating space, and then center align it to our other stepping stone and push it out 200 mil. Pressing OK, escape, and jumping back into our 3D, we're starting to model more and more and making this come to life. So now let's jump back into our floor plan and make this pool with a nice curved front, natural organic edge. If we double click on our pool plan, we're gonna see a couple elements pop up, and that's okay. Instead, we're gonna come to our left-hand panel up the top, scroll down to our underlayer and select ground floor. Now that we have our ground floor underlaid so we can see what's going on, personally, I think there's 1 too many stepping stones. So let's delete one of those stepping stones, select all of these, and then push it back to create that landing. Otherwise, that pool is just gonna be way too big and completely out of proportion. Now I wanna come up to the Annotate tab up top and go to my detail line. I wanna grab my spline tool, and all I wanna do really is draw an organic little curve running all the way across the front of that pool. This is gonna give me a good reference of what my actual pool is gonna look like and a very easy method of following along with my wall. So now we can jump back up to architecture, go to the wall, select our 300mm concrete, make sure our base is at pool, make sure our unconnected top height is at 1800, and simply start following this wall. Now we're gonna move on to using the arc tool, which is gonna allow us to create basically a pool edge that doesn't look too unrealistic and dissimilar to this curve. Now I don't want to copy this curve perfectly because I want these actual concrete panels to be able to follow an organic form and to actually look like they would work in real life. So as I'm clicking through this spline tool, I'm making sure that I'm following along and still taking very keen notes of how that wall actually connects and looks like in real life. I can delete that spline because I don't need it anymore. Then I can finish it off by pressing TR for trim, selecting the inside of my wall, selecting my other wall, and automatically trimming that away. Pressing escape, jumping back into 3D to see what we've created. We're coming closer to our actual final product. So now we see our pool structure created and the back missing. Let's jump back into pool, come back into our wall, simply finish off the base of that wall and come back into 3D. What we're gonna notice is that our stairs are again a little bit too low and not really working for us. So we're gonna hold the control button, select our curved walls. We simply now wanna reduce the height by 521 to actually reduce it to the height of that step there. If we wanted to increase the depth of the pool, we could, but for now, it's simply just gonna be a very shallow lap pool. Now we see these walls jutting out just a little bit too far for my liking and not really aligning to the top of that wall. So now I'm gonna select one of these walls and go edit profile. This allows me to edit the profile of this wall really quickly. What we want to do in this edit pane is select the external line, drag that to the top of our wall, make sure it is perfectly aligned there, select the top line, drag that to the corner of that wall, remove these constraints that we've just created, and introduce one more segment to finish off the top. Now let's press OK, see what we've created. There we go, we've linked that top of wall back in perfectly. We'll repeat the same step on the other side and come back. Now we have our pool coming together, which means we need to work on our roof and our actual architectural design overall. Let's jump back into our roof plan and make sure our ground floor plan is still underlaid. What we want to do is come back into architecture, and because we're going to be growing a garden over the top, we want to actually use a floor instead of a ceiling. So let's come to our floor tool. Let's go to a 300mm generic concrete slab so it can actually maintain the weight of that roof. Select our outline box tool and draw a nice big rectangle. Now I do want this rectangle to float out at least another 1200. So let's pump that out to 6 meters, press OK. I have this vision of the landscaping creeping between the building and the roof structure itself. So I'm going to select another rectangle box and I'm just simply going to draw a small little rectangle roughly here to allow those plants to creep through the concrete and over the facade of the building. I also don't need this concrete roof over the edge of the stairs, so I'm going to cut that concrete roof back and then remove the center line so there is no concrete above. I also want to do over the main entries, so I'm going to create a couple of these boxes, select them, copy, paste, and just drag a couple in the middle of that section. Now I can go ahead and press the finish button, then jump back into 3D to see what we've created. So what we've created is this beautiful roof structure with our walls connected a little bit too high. Because our walls are connected directly to our roof structure and we haven't created a ceiling level, that's what's causing this issue here. So if I jump back into East, I can simply select, copy, paste, move 300mm down and call this my ceiling level. And then readjust my top constraint from roof to ceiling. And there we go. Automatically, it is adjusted all those walls down. We see that plant slit right at the front. We see the beautiful shadow play coming through in the main staircase, and our building is starting to take some shape and some form. Obviously, we need a planter box on top of our roof to actually support these plants. So let's jump back into our roof plan and reselect something. So for this, I'm probably just simply going to use some block work. Let's go 140 masonry. Now what we're going to do is simply draw our planter box on top of our wall and ideally create this center cutout around our centerpiece. Jumping back into 3D, those walls are way too high. Selecting them all, we don't want them constrained. We don't need them going up to 8 meters. Let's say they only need to be 700mm to get some nice clean fill in there and so that we can actually get some plants to grow. Now in my head, we're gonna see these beautiful plants cascade through the slit, down the glass and over the facade. Both of my sides on my left and right are going to be completely covered by the natural landscape. Let's jump back into our ground floor plan and start actually mapping out the insides here. Now I won't go into too much detail of what I imagine the inside to look like, but if it was me, I'd be designing it very simply. I'd have 2 walls on either side with a walk-in robe straight down the middle, and I'd have my bathroom with a separate toilet on the left. On the right-hand pod, I'd obviously have some sort of living room smack bang in the middle, a beautiful feature fireplace separating my living room and my dining room. Then I'd have my kitchen up the front, and I'd have some form of scullery and laundry at the rear. Now it's probably time to move on. It's time to actually think about how this interacts with the outside world. For me personally, no limitations, no restrictions, just using all of our imagination and creativity without even thinking about regulations. What I'd love to see here is one beautiful sliding panel door system. So it would go all the way across, 9 meters wide, 4 meters tall, both spaces. Now there is no default door like this or default sliding window like this in Revit. So what I've gone ahead and done is downloaded a Revit family from AWS Windows. So simply file, open, and open a new family will allow you to import any of your Revit families and then directly import them into your project. Once they're imported, you can come back up to architecture, go to the door or window, whichever one it was actually imported as, and select the window or door that you've imported. For me, it's this AWS 702 Slide Master, which is so convenient because I don't have to model it. Select it and go edit type. I'm not really worried about the settings or anything up the top. I just want to increase this door to the maximum width what I need it for. So the overall height, 2.1, is going to change to 4 meters. The width is going to change to 9 meters. And then I'm going to press OK. We have the entire center of our living space completely pushed open. I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side. So these 2 spaces now need to interconnect between each other. And obviously we need a nice, beautiful front door. So let's come back into our architecture, go to our door, and let's use something default from Revit. We're going to use this M single flush door. I'm going to drag and drop that one right there, and I'm going to do the same thing over here on this side. I don't like the way this door swings, so if I select this door, I can either hit some of these arrows here or hit the space button to automatically flip those doors across. What I also don't like is the style of the door. So what we're going to do is hit edit, and the first thing we're going to change is this door material. So let's change that door material and let's make that glass. Pressing OK, and then scrolling down to our dimensions. I want this door to be grand, I want it to be beautiful, and I want it to most likely be extremely expensive. So what I'm going to do is create a custom door. That door's height is going to be 3.7, which is the actual height of our ceiling, and it's going to be at least 1500 wide. I'm going to press OK, let that update, and then adjust our doors so they actually fit into our space. Coming back into 3D, you'll see these doors are obnoxiously tall, but that's exactly how I want them to be. I want them to be grand, I want them to be luxurious. Before we finish this project off, there's only a couple things left to do. 1, we need to model our terrain, and 2, we need to change some of these materials. So let's start with the fun stuff. Let's change some of these materials. If we come up to the top to our modify tab, you're gonna see this paint tool. Now, this is the easiest way and the quickest way for me to just quickly paint everything that I see in this space. Let's start by typing in concrete. I want this block work to actually be concrete cast in situ. I don't mind what the inside of the brickwork looks like because, well, it's going to be covered in earth anyway, so nobody's going to see it. I then also want the edge of my concrete that's exposed to be matching this concrete wall. I don't mind what the top looks like because you're never going to see it from the ground below, and it's going to be covered mostly in plants anyway. I want to be able to actually change this material in Twinmotion or any rendering software. Now, understand I'm using a ceiling tile in this instance because I don't want to create a new material. I simply want to be able to use that space of this design for a different material in a 3D rendering software. Now that we've added a couple textures to this project and it's going to allow us to freely adjust as we see fit in our actual rendering software, we can go ahead and model our topography. Our topography is going to be a little bit challenging here, so we're going to have to work with it as we model this topography. Because it isn't a real project, it is a figment of my imagination. I have no idea what the topography needs to be, but I know it needs to work to this design. So let's double click on our site plan to see what's going on below us. I want to jump into massing and site, and I want to select topography. There is a number of ways to do this, but I'm just going to show you the quickest and easiest way for me personally. What we're going to do is start by placing 2 points left and right, either side, miles away. Then we're going to slowly work our way around this building, selecting key points where we want to be able to adjust the levels just right. So for me, that means all around this pool, at critical intersection points, and around the facade as well. Once we've gone ahead and added a few too many points that we're going to like to adjust, we're going to finalize by dropping 2 more points on either side, left and right, and pressing OK. Jumping back into 3D, we're going to see we've created basically a flat box. That has nothing to do with what we've actually just drawn, but that's because we haven't edited any of those hotspots that we created. If we select our surface and then go edit, we can actually start adjusting some of these hotspots. So these hotspots, for example, need to be lifted to the top of this stair. I can easily measure these here, understand that's 3130.4, and highlight those 2 hotspots and adjust their elevation on the left-hand side to 3130.4. What you'll see is an automatic adjustment of our entire topography, which is an incredible feature that makes life so simple. The 2 end hotspots I want even higher to make sure that ground is falling further towards us. So let's type in 5 meters and continue to see our site fall exactly where we want it. The hotspots in the corners where our ground is actually going to connect to our roof, I do genuinely want that to go to the full 4.7 meters. So that ground interacts and naturally slopes all the way past our actual roof garden. Which if I go back to the site floor plan now, it also means these 3 hotspots need to be at 4.7. Coming back into 3D, once again, we can see that 4.7 has been created. Now that we've gone ahead and adjusted all of these nodes to suit the levels regarding our actual building, we can go ahead and press OK. When we come back into site, we then want to select our actual site, go into massing and site and go split surface. This is going to open up a new toolbar and tool palette once we select on that site again. What we want to do is actually draw around our building in its entirety because we don't want to see any of that earth inside of our building. We don't have to draw around this spline line. We can simply pick lines and click around the edge of our pool. Once we've finished our full lap around the house, we can come in and press OK and it will split our surfaces. So if we come back into 3D, you'll see that whole surface is still there, but we can select it, tap the delete button and hide our building perfectly inside of the earth. Prior to finishing off this model, there's only one thing left for us to do, and that is create a slab for the ground floor plan, a slab for the pool, and then take this model into Twinmotion, render out a beautiful image so that we can showcase our best work yet. Anyway, that's all from me today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you check out the playlist to the side of me for more great architectural content. If you loved the video, make sure you smash the subscribe button down below. And if you want to see more Revit content, leave a comment down below and I'll make sure to make more of this content for you. But like always, I'll see you next Monday.